Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, and welcome to a series of masterclasses by International School Chess Federation. Thank you for coming today on this beautiful day here in Antalya. And first of all, we would like to introduce ourselves. Our guest today is Rustam Kasimdzhanov. He's a Grandmaster, and he will present today his vision of how to raise from talent to title. My name is Andrei. I will be your host today. I'm from International School Chess Federation, and this series of masterclasses is presented with our partners. It's FIDE and Turkish Chess Federation, which helped us a lot in organizing this event and making it happen. Also, we're thankful to our main sponsor, Freedom Holding Corp, for helping us in our good cause to make our kids better chess players and better persons. Today's session focuses on something that lies beyond openings and closings and tactics. It's about inner mindset of champions. What truly separates strong players of the great ones? How is mental strength built, sustained, and transferred across generations? To explore these questions, we are turning to our guest, Grandmaster Rustam Kasimdzhanov. He is the FIDE World Chess Champion 2004, and he is one of the most respected coaches and seconds in modern chess. Over the years, he has worked closely with world champions and challengers, and today he also leads national men's team of Uzbekistan. So let's welcome our Grandmaster.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. I hope I can answer all your questions.
So let's start. Rustam, you worked very closely with players like Vishwanathan Anand and Fabiana Caruana, both known for their calmness and professionalism under enormous pressure. When working with top players like Anand or Caruana, what are the key psychological traits you look for, and how can coaches or parents help cultivate those traits in young players?
I think it's a very important question, and it's a very good question. Of course, I worked with some of the very best players in the world, like you named, Anand and Caruana and some others. But we have to bear in mind that I started working with them when they were already very strong players. So I can talk about, more or less how the end product should look like. And we can try to see if we can learn something from this. The one thing which I noticed, which is a very similar trait amongst all the great players, is that they have a lot of faith in their chess destiny. So basically, they do not doubt that they will become great champions or that they deserve to be great champions. And this is probably something you have to cultivate in a young player early on, which is, of course, a difficult topic to discuss, right? Like, how do you tell a kid he's going to be a great champion without actually kind of disturbing his development, right? So this is a separate question, how to do this, but this I thought was important, that on your way to the top, you know where you want to get. It's important, I think, for every human being to know where you're going. And also it's important for the kid to aspire high. So this is, I thought, something that I observed in great players, that they know that their aspirations do not lie at the local level or country championships or becoming a grandmaster. They aspire much, much higher. And I think this is something that has to be cultivated. And then also other things, of course, that you have also mentioned, right? A certain degree of calmness is, of course, important, and quite a high degree of professionalism. But this, I think, everything, comes once you sort of have the vision, the faith, and you know where you're going. And of course, there will be a million other things. I mean, if some details interest you more than others, we can talk of those. But this is, to me, this is the first and maybe the most important thing that comes to mind. The certain faith that you are destined for very high results, maybe even like destined for greatness. But also one has to, because okay, I mean, I personally have worked with a lot of players, but I have not worked with very young kids. So how to do this in such a way so as you do not disturb the development of children, but rather motivate them is something that you would have to maybe ask people who have the experience of working with children. Yeah, I mean, this personally I cannot tell you about, but on seeing the end product, I can tell you that the confidence and the faith are really, really important, and this may be what separates the champions from other strong grandmasters. That when reaching the finals, the World Championship matches, the candidates, the great champions, they are less nervous because they know they were supposed to be there. I hope this makes sense.
You've experienced elite chess from two different perspectives. First, as a world championship contender yourself, and later as a second and a coach of others, preparing them for the title matches. How does preparation differ from when you are a player striving to become champion versus when you are a second or coach preparing someone else for a title match?
Well, I think everything changed, right? Not only that I was a player before and then I became a coach, but also the times have changed, I think. Because, okay, when I was growing up, the importance of computer or computer-generated information, internet, all this was basically negligible. When I was learning to play chess, the computers hardly existed, and then when I was becoming a professional chess player, okay, the computers already existed, but their role was not so great, and the internet basically did not exist. So all these sources of information that young players are using these days, they were not known back then, which means that the development was completely different. We learned slow. Just have a glass of water. We were learning slowly, and the players today, they are already very strong players at a much younger age, and this is maybe also changing as compared to, let's say, my work with Caruana and Anand, because okay, undoubtedly they are very great players, still are to this day, but they were not like grandmasters at the age of 12 and 13 and 14, right? Okay, maybe Caruana was, maybe a bit later, but anyway, the explosion of chess of today at a very young age was unknown when I was a professional player or when I was playing my World Championship, 2004 and before and after. And even when I was preparing Anand, our work started with in 2008 and lasted till 2012. This did not exist yet, right? So I think times have changed, chess has changed a bit, and the demands and the challenges of this profession have changed, especially for children, right? Because, I have also worked myself with some remarkable young players, although not at a very young age. I mean, I have, as I said, very little experience with like kids. And I say kids, I mean like when they are 5, 6 years old. Yeah, very often they start at this age now, right? But I have worked with prominent Uzbek players, and I have also worked with the Turkish Grandmaster Erdogmuş, and I can tell you that the kids of 14 or 13, they are very, very different from how I remember myself and my colleagues at this age, right? This level of chess maturity which they now get is incomparable to our time. And of course, we have to, like being coaches, we have to think about what this means for our work, right? For our work with children who are supposed to be children in age. They're supposed to be, playing football outside, but who are actually competing already at the highest levels of chess. And I think this brings with itself many challenges and not really many ready solutions, because nobody is really working, I think, or hardly anybody is working, maybe until we started talking today. I don't think there is a lot of work on the challenges of chess for kids who are playing at a very high level internationally. For instance, when I was watching some of these very young grandmasters playing now in Grand Swiss in Uzbekistan. Some of them are like 13, 14, playing at the highest level, which means fighting under enormous pressure for 8-9 hours in international tournaments. And like from the outside, it almost looks like, the kids are not supposed to do this, right? So this brings a lot of challenges, and I think a lot of discussion is needed in how to mentor them best. Yeah, but okay, I guess that's what we're also doing here, right?
Thank you. Talking about pressure, your 2004 World Championship victory came through a knockout format, where mental pressure and recovery between games are absolutely critical. Looking back at that tournament, how important were mental endurance and resilience under pressure, and what were concrete habits or training methods that helped you build that strength?
Yeah, of course, it's a really important question, and it was a really important topic for me as well. Because pressure is not just a topic that you have to address. I think it's almost the only topic you have to address as a player during the tournament, because usually everything else is ready. I mean, your openings are ready, your endgame knowledge is present, you have the skills, right? You have been well taught, you have been training towards something for your entire life. You usually have coaches and seconds and sponsors and some support and whatnot. Like everything else is there, everything else is ready, and basically you just have the game which you know how to play. You have yourself with the ability to play this game, and then you have this one thing which comes between you and the performance that you are capable of, and this thing is the pressure. So basically, the pressure which is constantly there during the tournament is also, well, to put it bluntly, it's also, well, your enemy that you should be able to live with. It's a thing that, well, we have to understand clearly, I think, because it's not like talked about, right? Not really. Usually, you say, okay, I mean, he blundered under pressure, but we don't really understand what this means. And to me, this was always like a big thing, because usually when you play well and then it doesn't work at the end, it's always the pressure that you didn't handle well, right? So for me, it was important in Tripoli when I was playing my world championship, the one where I succeeded. Of course, to be fair, we have to mention that I played many world championships, and in a lot of them I did not succeed. So you don't always perform well under pressure. But in that one, I do remember sort of constantly, despite being a relatively young man, I do remember sort of constantly being aware of the necessity to handle the pressure. And I was alone there. I didn't have a second at the time or a coach there on the premises. And I remember that most of my work between the rounds and between the days had to do with acknowledging the pressure and learning to let it go and to live with this. And in my opinion, this work was important. And I have a feeling that basically all the professional players from early on, they have to learn this. And there is no recipe that will fit all players, right? And the coaches will also have to learn this and how to sort of help the students deal with pressure. And this is also something that coaches have to learn, because in my opinion, very often coaches do not do this well. Many coaches, they like to increase the pressure for the student, to sort of motivate, and but in fact one has to set the goal very high. One has to motivate, but one has to reduce the pressure, and this is a trick that we need to learn, right? I mean, we have to expect ourselves to function at our best without sort of demanding it, and this is this magical trick is something we need to learn, right? So the difficulty in also answering this question more concretely, I think, lies truly in the fact that what works for me might not work for you, and might not work for others, and definitely might not work for, kids playing chess, right? For me, for instance, in Tripoli, I was 25 years old. I was taking long walks in the evening, just to take just to reduce the pressure, just by being in the city, by embracing the culture, the surroundings, the landscapes, and somehow letting my head clear. And I know that you cannot really expect a lot of people to follow this, right? I mean, people do not really go for long walks, and children especially do not really do this. And I know that, for instance, Caruana, one of my students, he was telling me that he would just watch, like a movie late in the evening to take his mind off the game. And I know some play video games, and others, they even play Blitz, and it works for some, does not work for others. For instance, I cannot imagine trying to relax with playing Blitz games in the evening. I think this would maybe excite me more and make it difficult for me to sleep. But I know it works for some others. So it's a very individual thing. Yeah? And I think we cannot really have some fixed rules, but maybe just, try things out. But it has to be addressed in any case. We have to admit that this is an important topic. The pressure, as I said, is the enemy we have to learn to live with, and we have to recognize that for a chess player in a tournament game, the pressure is always there, whether we can feel it or not, and we have to realize that the pressure can be especially unforgiving on children, and we have to give them some mental tools and some habits, right, to help them deal with this. So returning to your question, was superbly important for me in Tripoli, and was really a huge part of my success, that in this tournament I dealt with pressure probably better than in most others. Doesn't always work like this, because as I said, I've had a lot of high pressure events in my life, and I haven't always handled this well. But yeah, a big topic, and the necessity, I think, to handle the pressure, and especially to just try out different things is very, very important, especially when you work with kids. The most, I think, dangerous thing is to ignore the topic altogether. This topic is important, it exists, it has to be dealt with, and how it has to be dealt with, once again, is individual, right? You have to try things out, see what helps.
So, since today your role has expanded even further, as you are now responsible for shaping a whole generation of national team chess of Uzbekistan, how do you balance long-term development of young talents with short-term competitive results? And what is your overall philosophy when it comes to nurturing future champions?
Yeah, no, I have this feeling that maybe for an event like this, I would be really probably harmoniously assisted by somebody who really works with very young children, because I think it's a bit like unfair. I think a lot of coaches, they see it as unfair because they work with kids who, since they are like 5, 6 years old, they make them great, and then somebody like me picks them up and starts working with them and nurturing their talents further. Yeah, so this is a bit unfair, I think. Me, of course, I work with them when they already expect results, and usually because they are very, very strong, the results they come. And if I had to do this from early on, I would think you would have to balance. Of course, you have to do this at every age, of course, but especially with kids, you really have to take very good care about their health, right? So whilst trying to help them get their results, we also have to make sure that it does not take a mental and an emotional toll on them, right? We have to make sure. And I think this is important, and I do not really understand why there is no more talk about this in chess circles. That we have to sort of take care of the health of people in our profession, especially of chess players, especially of children. And I feel that I have been a chess player for my entire life, and so I'm in chess for about 40 years now, and there hasn't been, I think, enough conversation about this. And I would like there to be more conversation on managing risks of development, right? I mean, we help our players get stronger, we help them play, we help them perform, and we, by asking them to reach higher, we should also build in certain safety mechanisms, right? Make sure that that they stay healthy, that they stay fit physically, emotionally, mentally, and we should also, I think we have to create mechanisms. And when I say we, I don't mean just we, the chess coaches. I mean all parents. I mean the whole chess world, I think, has to create a certain like feedback mechanism, a certain place for players to talk about those things and to get help maybe when they feel that chess is too challenging. And I assure you, chess is a huge challenge for a coach and for a player and for everybody in this profession. And I think the time has really come for us to address all of those things, right? So yes, develop them. Yes, help them become champions. Help them aspire for very high goals. Help them get even better. And by all means, please, let's stay healthy whilst we're doing this, because I have the feeling that this part of chess has been unfortunately ignored in the spirit of in this Olympic sports spirit, right? Like whatever this is, like higher, faster, all of this. Yes, and let's stay healthy, because chess is, I think all professional sports have a mental toll, and chess is an especially tricky one because it's a very mental occupation to begin with. So sort of, you just sit down and you are there with yourself against the whole world, and this takes a toll, especially on kids. So I mean, when we have to balance, and we always have to balance between our ambition and a certain safety net, I think we have to do everything possible, everything we can, as I said, as a coach, but also as a chess world, and also FIDE, please. I think the time has come to build in certain, maybe even institutions within the international organizations that specifically deal with this, right? That help players address these issues, address the pressure, address the toll it takes, the toll not just playing chess takes, but also the success sometimes that kids are just not ready for. It's very easy to to be a top player at 14. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to live as a top player at 14. It's unthinkable to be playing in candidates at 15, 16 and playing world championship matches at 17, and people do this. And this takes like an unbelievable mental toll on players. And we just do not have this, at least I'm not aware of this, of the same development in other fields. Like everything that we did to make these kids stronger, we should be doing everything that is in our power to also make them healthier and make this profession safer, sort of emotionally and mentally. I think this whole development, this whole field has been ignored, and I really feel that more has to be done in this direction. And I would like to see some more activity there.
We at International School Chess Federation completely agree with you, and let's make some research and positive steps towards it.
Sounds good.
Our next question is more about your deep analytical work and structured approach in preparation, which you are doing in your job as a coach. What role does opening preparation and strategic drilling play in building confidence for young or developing players? And how early should this become part of a structured training program?
Yeah, now this is a big one. This is a really, really big question. This is a big one and a difficult one to address because, well, on one hand, it's obvious that the opening preparation is over accentuated, as in people do it too much. People do too much in the way of openings and not enough in other fields of chess and of their development in general. So for a lot of professional players, it's 90% openings and then little bit in between of middle game work and game work, very little sports and almost nothing to nothing in the way of like emotional preparation and so on. So in one way, it's very easy to say, okay, people do this too much and they should do it less. But on the other hand, I also understand the importance. I understand the importance of the opening preparation because that's how every game starts. Every game starts with an opening phase, and you do not know before the game if you will have to, play a difficult ending, if you will have to calculate some incredible things, if you will need to make unusual strategic decisions. But what you do know is that you will have to play the opening. And this is true for the white opening, this is true for the black opening, and this is also how we enter this area where we overstress the importance of the opening, because very often I see that players at the very early stages of their career in chess who should be learning strategy and calculating tactics, who should be just doing things to become stronger. Instead of this, they try to just get a better opening repertoire. And this is, of course, where we enter the need for balance, right? Like with all your other questions as well, right? We need to find the right balance. The opening work is necessary even for the beginner. In fact, even the beginner books, right? If you notice, they usually start with some tips on opening play. But then we should also stop when it's enough, right? So, like, I think at almost every level, but especially in the beginning, we do need the opening repertoire, but we just have to sort of understand when enough is enough. I think that there are coaches who are good at this, who give their students the first, the structure of the opening they want to play, the first 5, 6 moves, 7 moves, and then they explain what they want to get. And then there are other cases which I see where people who learn the rules of the game barely, and then they are already like downloading Grandmaster repertoires and are trying to sort of learn move by move, and this is just not helpful. So definitely we need the repertoire, definitely we need to give them this repertoire to play, but we have to cut early. We have to cut a bit early, and I think this is true for all the levels, even for the World Championship level. You have to cut much earlier than people think, because people really overdo this. People overdo the depth, and the depth is not as important as just having the repertoire, knowing what you'll play, and then being ready to fight.
Thank you. Much of a second's work happens behind the scenes, where effort is intense, but unfortunately recognition is limited, and progress is not always immediately visible to others. How should parents and coaches think about handling failure, setbacks, or long periods without visible progress, especially given your experience working quietly in the background at the highest level?
Yeah, well, basically the short answer, I wish I knew. Like, I wish I knew how to handle this, yeah, because this is really terrible. As usually the way it happens is like this, right? I mean, as you say, yeah, first of all, there are no visible results for a long time. So it works like this, right? Somebody hires you as a coach or as a second. You are supposed to help somebody get better. And then you do the work in the shadows, the unseen work, and you work together. And this work helps the player to become better. But because the result is not immediately visible and the result is not immediately there, after all your work, your player is usually disappointed with you, invariably, because, well, what are the results we were hoping for, right? We're supposed to gain like 200 rating points in 6 months, and we didn't, no? And then you get fired. Usually this is how it works. And then this player usually gets somebody else. But because all of this work that you did actually helped him to become a better player, this is when he starts performing his best. And then he understands that, firing you is a correct decision, and there is basically no escaping from this vicious loop. The only thing you can do is to become the second coach, to get like a really talented player at the height of his development, and then you immediately get all the laurels. Yeah, but if we are sort of serious, then okay, this is a big problem. This is a big problem because usually the expectations are completely unrealistic. The expectations of what a coach and what a second or a parent or anybody in support or a sponsor can do. Because a lot of people, they think about chess talents in such a way that, you have a very talented player, you give him sponsorship, you give him a coach, and he will become a great player in such and such a time. It's just very often unrealistic because sometimes it takes longer and sometimes it doesn't work out. It's not like building a house. When you build a house, you can sort of say, okay, this will take this amount of money, this amount of material, and this amount of time. And then likely at the end of the day, you will have a house. Even then, sometimes you have problems, that some things do not work out as you plan, but more or less it's predictable. And with chess players, it's just not the case. Yeah, there is no predictable result to the work that we do as coaches or as seconds, and we can only know this like afterwards. We can only know this afterwards. Of course, like afterwards, when Magnus Carlsen becomes a player that he is, it becomes obvious that it was always supposed to happen. But to every case that works out brilliantly, there are 100 cases that do not work out and that are like forgotten afterwards. And there are all sorts of difficulties on the way, and you never know like how smooth somebody's career will be. Later on, it's easy to guess, but to actually sort of predict the future now is extremely difficult. And yeah, I would just kind of lower the expectations a bit. Like if you are a parent and if you have a very promising child, you are a sponsor who is supporting a very promising player, you should not think that by investing X amounts of dollars into 6 months of development that you will have a world championship material. Just lower your expectations a bit. Yeah, I mean, because I know this as a second, you will get a brilliant student, you will do a lot of work, and it very often will end badly, as in will not end in a long and prosperous career. Because one thing which is obvious, almost from every second I know and from every coach I know, is this changeability of your career, right? Like when you say, you worked with Anand and you worked with Caruana and you worked with this and Abdusattarov and others and the Uzbek national team. One of the reasons is that, this sort of relationships, they do not tend to last. So it's a very difficult line of work. And as a coach, you have to be ready for this. This sort of a little bit of a heartbreak is part of the profession. It's built into the profession, and as parents and others, sponsors and organizations in support of development, you have to know that the development is not a straight line at all, and the best tandems between a player and a coach are those where also the player understands it. If the player also understands that there is no immediate feedback, there is no immediate result, and things will work out, but not necessarily today, this is when you get something really special going. Yeah, this is something we are kind of striving to get, and maybe this is also part of what we should teach our children, that your result will come, your result will be great. It will just not necessarily be this year. Maybe it will be this year, but maybe also it will be next year. And maybe this we have to sort of instill early on, because, I think it's a bit unfortunate, but also typical of the age we're living in, that we're expecting the results immediately. And this is of course where a lot of problems begin, especially for coaches and seconds, because usually it's like this. Yeah, you are asked to help somebody. Sometimes it's a country, sometimes it's a player. You are a coach who is asked to develop chess in a certain country, and usually you will have zero results the first few years even. So you need just like a much larger horizon to get anything done, right? And this is something we need to be ready for, both as a player, but also as a coach. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So it's all about balance, as always.
Balance
and your investments.
Yeah. Now, above all, we should not expect things to work out well, and we especially should not expect them to work out well quickly. Usually, good work has results. That's why it's good work. But the path to this result is very often unexpected, and very often comes when you already don't expect anything good to come out of this. Yeah, so it comes much later usually.
Patience, all about patience.
Patience is important, yes.
Both for parents, for sponsors, and for coaches, and for players, of course. Thank you. Having seen players at every stage, from juniors to world title contenders, you've had a unique vantage point on what truly makes the difference at the top. In your point of view, what distinguishes a good player from a champion? And how much of that difference comes from mindset versus natural talent or technical skill?
Yeah, no, this is this is a big one. Yeah, I mean, this is also maybe connected to what we were talking about earlier. Basically, when you are talking about highly qualified players, they very often they have comparable set of technical skills. Like with other sports, for instance, if you are talking about, 10 best tennis players in the world, they will all have their technical skills very well developed. And the chess is the same, right? I mean, like you will not find a player in top 10 who is bad at calculating lines, or who is bad at strategic understanding of the position, who has bad openings, or who doesn't know endings. It just doesn't work like this. Yeah, I mean, they will all have very comparable set of skills, and that some of them become great players, and some of them become great champions, and some of them have career of like 30 years or 50 years at the top, and some of them don't. Really comes down to other things, not technical chess skills, but other things like the mindset and other things like the ability to handle the pressure. Like I remember, I was just reminded of this, one of the greatest players and now also one of the best coaches of recent decades, Boris Gelfand, once told me of how he, as a kid, he attended the Tigran Petrosian School of Chess, and how he worked with Tigran Petrosian himself, although briefly. But for me, this was still a remarkable story, because I was learning from books and writings of Tigran Petrosian, and that Boris had this chance to meet him in person and to learn from him personally. For me, this was like some amazing thing. And I asked Boris about the nature of the work and what he felt that he learned from Tigran Petrosian, and he didn't tell me anything about positional things or strategies or exchange sacrifices or endgames or openings. He told me in one sentence that Tigran Petrosian taught him how to stay calm during the game. So, and these small things are basically what makes the difference. You have two equally qualified players in the finals or at the top, two players competing for titles, for achievements, for rating, for other things, for everything. And basically one of them will play his best chess at the decisive moment, and the other one will not, because one of them learned how to stay calm under pressure, and the other one did not have the opportunity, did not manage to do this. But this will be the differences, and the same will be true not just at the very top level, but also at all the other levels that you will go to. Two players competing in under 16 World Championship, they will be very close in technical skills. They might not be equally close in how they stay focused under pressure. So basically, if you wanted to just explain, like in one sentence, what it takes to become good at chess, it's exactly this. It's how you stay sort of focused under the pressure of everything that is chess, right? The ticking clock and the opponent who exists to make your life worse, right? So and this will be it, and I think this will be true across all levels. Really, I don't see a proper difference there, and that's why we need to focus on this also, right? And not just on the development of all the other technical skills.
elite chess players, they always pose a lot of discipline. And as we spoke before, too much pressure on young chess players could lead to their burnout. For young players and their parents who are aiming high, how important is discipline, and how can coaches or parents help create it in a healthy and sustainable way?
Yeah, no, this is important, of course, and as you said yourself, yeah, it's a part of this whole conversation that we've been having, right? The discipline is, of course, very important for any professional, right? I mean, we need to work, and we need to work consistently, and there is a lot of work in chess, openings, but not only, right? And we cannot do this without a proper discipline. And the way to do this is to implement the other things as part of our work. Basically, of course, a player needs to do sports and to relax, and you have to incorporate it into your training day. It has to be the part of the discipline, so to speak. So basically, if you have a training session with young players, then you have to incorporate playing some sports for 2 hours in the afternoon, or going to a swimming pool, or watching a movie together in the evening, or like going out for a hike somewhere. It basically, the part which relaxes you and takes your mind off the game has to be an equally important part of your training as all the other parts. And I think by doing this, by incorporating everything into our workflow, into our plan, we sort of also we dilute the borders, and we make everything more natural. We don't say, okay, this is work, and this is relaxation, and this is sports, and this is something else, but we just make it everything more natural. And I think kids are good at this, at taking things when they are presented naturally. Like kids like being outside, kicking some ball, but they will never do this if you will tell them, now go outside and kick a ball. I mean, they take things more naturally, and it has to be sort of incorporated into the day that, there are times when the kids are allowed to sort of to just run around free and do nothing, or enjoy themselves and relax. And also, in my experience, kids will do a lot of work. Kids will sit down and they will work a lot. They can be very ambitious and very hardworking. And of course, kids, they just have, I think, more natural physical energy than adults very often. And then there is, of course, this other part, right, that we have to watch for their symptoms, right, to make sure that they do not overdo this. I have been hearing stories, like very recently, I ran into a young woman at an airport in Tashkent who recognized me, and she was telling me about her son, who is 5 years old, who works on chess. And basically her story started to sound a bit nightmarish to me when she said, he takes like 2 hours of private lessons in the morning, then he has a lunch, and then he has 3.5 hours of group training in the afternoon. I was like, how old is he? He's 5, yeah? And then I was beginning to think, okay, I mean, we also have to make sure that our daily rhythm is not insane. We have to make sure of this, yeah? So, yeah, by all means, let them work. By all means, let them also relax, but just make sure that, that your planning is not insane to begin with, yeah? Because very often I have a feeling that like with everything that kids have been doing these days, with them getting ever stronger, ever younger, there is also this enormous pressure on parents and coaches to perform and overperform. And I have a feeling when 5-year-olds, when they start having the same training rhythm like world champions, this is when we are overdoing this, like 100%. So we have to watch out for this, yeah. And like I'm not a big fan of pressuring kids in general, right? I mean, let them have a more normal kind of life, yeah. Let them learn chess, but let us, by all means, not drive them crazy whilst doing this. Yeah, we need to be gentle with them. They're kind of their kids, right?
That woman, she definitely wanted to impress you with those numbers.
Maybe, yes, maybe, but yeah, I mean, I was terrified. Even if she was exaggerating, I was still terrified of these numbers. It's like, yeah, the age of 5, I was barely starting. I hardly played my first game, yeah. And nowadays I hear some players having an international rating by the age of 3 and a bit, yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, it's maybe too much, no?
And do you believe in this, that starting early makes more chances to be a pro elite chess player?
I mean, first of all, of course, honestly, I don't know, but personally, I doubt it. And I'm definitely, I'm sure that they will be easier to crush mentally and emotionally if you start very early. So if this is something that we bear in mind, then I think it's always safer to start a bit later. Because in my understanding, I never understood this race. As in, let's say you have a certain level that you will achieve. Let's say your level that you will achieve is 2700, for instance, or 2600, whatever your level is. Let's call it your maximum potential or your natural potential. Does this really make a difference whether you achieve this at 15 or 17 or 20? Is this really such a big deal? You will get there. You will all get there to your natural level. You will most definitely get there. And sometimes I feel it's even safer to get to your natural peak a bit later. It's like, taking a walk from where I live I live in a village. So if I take a walk to a next village, a walk will take you 1 hour. A run will take you a bit less, and a crazy run will take you maybe even less than that. But does this really make a difference, when you get there? This is something I never understood. I never understood this comparison. Like, this player became a grandmaster at 12 and 2 weeks, and the other one was 12 and 2 weeks, but the other one was born 7 seconds earlier. I mean, I do not understand this debate. Honestly, what difference does it make? When you become a strong player, if you do things correctly, you will get where you want to be. It doesn't have to be at a record age. I do not understand this. I mean, and I think that some things it's easier, I think, for a player to deal with the pressure of chess if this pressure does not come too early. I mean, there are I mean, we don't have to make it ever younger, I think. Maybe now we hit the peak, with players like, once again, Erdogmush, we probably hit the peak of how strong you can get at a certain age. And I think maybe this is a good place to stop. Yeah, let's try not to kind of improve on this, I think this is enough. And basically, yeah, I don't think, I also think, because I worked with a lot of these players, and I think this constant race is hurting them. When they're thinking, okay, I am 13 and I'm 2600, but my friend is 13 and he's 2620, this is not good for them. It's not good for their development. It's not good to be in a constant race throughout your life. Yeah, I mean, let's kind of develop more naturally, right? I mean, let them have the time to grow. No?
And your personal journey from world champion, already elite chess player, to elite second and now national team leader spans multiple generations of chess players, which you witnessed. Looking back, what have you learned about the inner mindset of champions that only becomes clearer when you work with many different players across time and cultures, or it is as it is?
I think they are very, very different. Like they are really, truly different. Like it's like if you, for instance, from players I have witnessed up from very, very close, and like Anand and Caruana and say Abdusattarov, and maybe also Arjun, they are like all of them completely different personalities. As I said in the very, very beginning of our talk, they all have the faith in common. They are not surprised by their results. They always knew they were gonna make it pretty high. But other than that, they are all of them different, like day and night. Yeah, it would be maybe nice for some to be able to take a world champion or to take a great player and to sort of just describe it, put everything into like a personality box and say, this is how you have to be. But the truth is they are very, very different people.
Mr. Kasimdzhanov, thank you very much for your time. And I think now it's time to let our audience ask you questions.
Of course, it's a pleasure.
If they have. Let me bring the micro. Any questions? Or everybody's pretty clear from Mr. Kasimdzhanov? A lot of insights, a lot of interesting information, which will definitely help you develop your players, your kids, and let's think about balance and their health as a most important part, being humans first of all, and chess results will come, right?
Absolutely, yes.
We have a question.
Mr. Kasimdzhanov, it's an honor for me to meet you and being a masterclass in here. I would like to understand the part of which you mentioned that for the kids and for the chess players, health is so much important, but we need to underline, maybe we can focus on the different parts. On the starting ages, on the youngest kids also, they have too much time to spend on trainings of chess. But I know the other parts of the sports, during the young games, they don't have enough time to practice another types of protecting their health. They have to train harder and harder on which class they are working on the sports. As we mentioned that during the chess, they are spending too much time on the table and they don't spend, they don't mention that, they don't care about their body's health. If the bodies are not healthy, it will occur on the day by day, their mental processes getting lower and lower and lower. After the years, they cannot achieve what they mentioned, what they aimed. What you suggest about, because I'm in my 50s and I know that Mr. Gary Kasparov, during his top age, he told that, he mentioned that he is spending too much time in fitness course or in the gyms. As I saw that most of kids, I know that for the kids, there is not suitable for the using trainings, personal trainings or personal body trainings is not suitable for them, but it has to be starts from somewhere else. How you mentioned that, how you advise that, where they start to do different, as you mentioned that for living with pressure, they have to use some habits. They have to develop some habits and some different skills. Which direction do you mention? Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is one of those cases where your question pretty much answered itself, right? Obviously true. I mean, they need to be doing a lot, also physically, and also true that a lot of great players have done this, like Kasparov you mentioned, and also like in my work, for instance, with Anand during the World Championship prep. One of the most impressive things was how well established this was a part of the game, a part of the training day, that Anand would start his day with a morning jog and some exercise, and then he would train for the whole day. So basically, I think the only way to do this properly, especially for children, is to make a habit of this early on. You basically instill this thought into kids, and kids, okay, they will trust you, right? You're an adult, you're a coach, you are a parent, you're a guardian, you are an inspiration that the chess performance is inseparable from physical fitness, and you make it a habit early on. You do not force them to exercise, but you sort of just make a habit out of this early on, and I think this is the only way it will work. And I think also for like top players, I don't think that Kasparov did this because he thought there was some immediate correlation between his fitness and his performance in chess. At some point, it just became a habit. And this is basically the best we can do. I think we just take what's useful for our development and make it a habit. And once it becomes a habit, it just stays there. And I think this is the best we can do. And I don't think a lot more is necessary, really. I think this is what we should be trying to do, to make a habit out of it and hope that it works.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Здравствуйте, Рустам Штрупович. У меня такой вопрос. Вот у моей дочки в группе ей 11 лет, ее в группе там есть чемпионы мира, чемпионы Азии, они там готовятся. Например, если дают решение по мидтеншпилю или эндшпилю, у них одинаковый уровень, даже может решать лучше. Но я заметила, вот в дебюте она делает очень много ошибок, хотя постоянно готовится. И игра-то начинается не с середины же, а в начале. Получается, вот этот метод, сколько уже пробуем, но пока не нашли. Что можете вы посоветовать? Спасибо.
Unfortunately, I think it's too much in chess question for me to translate into English.
Well, I can do both, right? I can translate the question and then answer it.
So basically, if you keep answering in English, everybody will understand the answer, and they will be aware of what we are talking about here.
Yeah. Now the question is mainly about how a young player can perform very well in the calculation and training and the strategy when training in groups with others, and despite the work in this direction, still makes a lot of mistakes in the opening, and what can be done about this. I actually think that the opening part of the game is not natural for a lot of players. Some young players, they sort of do the opening work early on and it seems to work for them. Some others do not. It doesn't come naturally, and of course you have to keep trying, right? You have to keep trying, working in some direction, hope that it works. Maybe try different methods of learning. For instance, if you're trying to memorize, or if the kid is trying to memorize the opening, maybe try some other methods that are not like direct memorization. Yeah, maybe try to understand why this move was played or why this opening is played the way it's played, or maybe even change the opening. Like if if the kid cannot remember some moves from a certain opening, maybe this opening is not a good fit. Sometimes it's also possible. And having said all that, then there is a bigger picture. Sometimes your kid will perform really well in the training group, but perform worse over the board and during the tournaments. And then we are basically back at the question of how well is the player handling the tournament pressure. The fact that somebody performs better in training does not mean that they will be a better player. There is a lot more to playing chess than technical skills.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I'm Grandmaster Kasimdzhanov. Thank you for the talk. I was taking care of my kids, so I couldn't be here the whole time. So I apologize beforehand if my question is brought before in the session. My son actually, I'm from Japan, and my son actually played with two consecutive Uzbek players and lost both of them. We are really impressed by the level of the kids in your country. And we are from Japan, and we have very few chess culture, unfortunately, and but we are trying to I'm trying to that he will be enjoy chess and participate in those tournaments and etc. But usually we don't have any over the board opponents. My son plays it's exclusively online. And is there any advice for those who has not who does not have many over the board opponents or away from chess activities from elsewhere? Thank you, and I think I hope my question makes sense.
Of course your question makes perfect sense. Thank you for bringing it up. No, I understand the problem that when you come from a country which does not have a long history of chess culture, some development will be difficult, and I wish I could give you easy solutions. I don't think there are any. As for your kid, of course, it will be helpful if your kid gets to play real tournaments, not just online. There is a big difference, especially for how you perceive the pressure of the game, whether you play it on the monitor or whether you play over the board. So, of course, the over the board experience is necessary, and you should have it. But when your country does not have the necessary chess culture, as doesn't have the opponents suitable in strengths, doesn't have enough tournaments, then I think the only thing you can do is to every now and then go abroad for a couple of months just to get this practice, right? Otherwise, as you said, thank you for your remark that you have been impressed by level of young Uzbek chess players. That is true, and also Uzbekistan is part of the broader Soviet Union, right? And has had a very developed chess culture for many years now, right? And as such, we of course were at an advantage compared to a country like Japan that does not have an equal culture for our game. Of course, Japanese culture for your own games is well known, but chess has been, of course, largely ignored over the last 100 years, and it's only changing now. Yeah. So as such, I can only offer you, if you are serious about your son's chess, this is something that some players used to do, as in they would travel with their parents to, say, Europe or to other countries, to other places where there are many tournaments, and they would play a few tournaments and then they would travel back. I know it's it's not easy and it's expensive, but it's maybe necessary, right? Otherwise, if you are only playing on your computer, I don't know if this works, because then you will not be ready for the actual games when they are played in real tournament conditions. At least you have to, maybe you can get stronger, but you have to know what tournament chess feels like. Otherwise, it's very difficult. So I hope my answer makes some sense.
Thank you. Any other questions? And may I ask you the last one question from my part as a father? When you start playing chess with your kid just for fun, when it's time to understand if it makes sense to put it more professional or just keep it fun, at what age?
Yes, no, I mean, like, I'm a father myself. I have 2 kids, and I did not try to make them professional chess players. In fact, I thought that every professional chess player almost has to make sure that his kids do something else, right? Because, it's, I mean, like, if you have one chess player in the family, then it's already enough, right? At least this was my assumption. And for others, of course, it's a really tricky one, right? It's a big commitment at a very early age when you start, paying for coaches and traveling to tournaments. It takes a lot of time, a lot of resources, and basically, I would address this based on the kid's emotion. If you feel that chess is mainly a source of joy for your kid, then by all means do it. By all means, help him become a chess player, and you will see this, I think, very quickly. Chess is always up and down, and if you see that it's mainly positive, it will not be exclusively positive, but if you feel that this is mainly a source of joy, you will feel this very quickly, and your kid will feel this very quickly. And so if your kid wants to play chess, then by all means, like my own experience with chess has been very complicated, and in general, I can tell you that no matter who you are, and no matter how good you are, your story in chess will be a difficult one, especially if you're good, because this means that you will have to function under pressure for much longer. So this is always a tricky one. But if you feel that chess is a source of joy for your child, of course you will not take this joy away from him or her, right? So do take care of the emotional response to this. I think above all, chess, like anything else, you should not force chess upon your children. It will not work, and it's not a good thing to do. If your child embraces chess, then by all means help your child become a better chess player. Like, for instance, my own case was that when I was a kid and I learned to play chess, I was completely fascinated. And you could not stop me if you wanted to. And this is, I think, the best possible starting point. If your kid is fascinated by chess and wants to play chess at any cost, of course you help your kid. And if not, then okay, you look at the emotional response, right? And above all, please do not force your kid to play chess if he or she doesn't want to. This is not a good thing to do to our children. We should, let them grow free and not be forced into things that they do not want to do.
Thank you so much for your response. So, I think that's it. Thank you so much, Mr. Kasimdzhanov, for your time, for your great insights on this beautiful game of chess. And let's applause.
Yeah, thank you everyone for this time. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, really, and I think it was some of the things we talked about were also important, and I hope they will you will also find them useful. Let's do it again sometime, yeah. And I wish you all the best, with your project. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.